Hello, all, and welcome back to another whole series here at Micro Chicago. I once more am the creative director, Dakota Pariset, and today we are joined by a very good friend of mine. We go back, oh my gosh, pre-pan days. Is one
Seven
of
years.
7 years. It's crazy. He's an East Coaster, New Englander. Found himself in Miami or in Florida, and then back up in Maine, and is now on the third coast. And we're so glad to have him here. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend.
All right, hello to you, Dakota, my friend, and anyone who's watching. My name's Alec, and as he so illustriously set me up, born and raised in Maine, went to college in Miami, Florida, lived back in Maine after college for a couple of years, and then moved to Chicago in 2019 with my then girlfriend, now wife. So, been here for a minute, finally understand how to get around this city, without having to look at my phone every 2 seconds.
Oh my gosh, it's the struggle. There's
Yeah.
so much. There's always something popping up.
You know what, though? I have a friend of mine who he lived in New York for a while, also from my hometown of Maine, but lived in New York City for several years. And he was talking about how he knew that he'd become a New Yorker or lived there long enough because he saw things change. And I had that moment. I have that moment regularly now where it's like, wow, that wasn't there or that didn't used to be there. But I was standing at the Lawrence Red Line stop today, which has been recently rebuilt, for those of you who don't know. And
Yeah,
I was like standing at the place where the temporary stop used to be, and I was just marveling at that.
it's crazy. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had that similar situation. Like, it used to be a restaurant on like Devon and Glenwood, and it was
Mhm.
like pre-pan. And I'm like
Mhm.
walking around like a year or two later, it was gone. I was like, oh
Mm.
man,
The restaurants
Mattel.
hurt me the most when the restaurants go away, because that's like a place I built memories with people, right? Like there was one I saw recently that closed that I used to love all the time, and I was like thinking about when I went there with Bethany and my sibling-in-law and like had a thing of it, or it's just like I don't know, something about food especially is like a very visceral kind of connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It brings people together.
Mm.
And that's something that you are very, very good at yourself.
Great
Segue.
segue, my friend.
Um,
Great segue. Wow, I hate to call it out, but it was too good to ignore.
and on that, um, tell us a little bit about this little project that you got kicking around. We were just talking before I hit the record button. It's a year and a half year old baby.
Just about, yeah. So I'm here today ostensibly to talk about the show that I produce and host called A Beautiful Night in Our Neighborhood. It's a late night variety talk show happening live once a month here in our beautiful city. We spent our first year primarily going live from the Bughouse Theater, which is one of my favorite little spaces in the neighborhood in the city. It has been a good place for me as like a young improviser, producing shows, self-producing. We also did a couple shows last year for Rhinofest. We got to be at the Jarvis Square Theater, which is a very cool space. They were great to us as well. And but this year we've been housed at the playground for two big reasons. One, because it's way closer to me, so it's a much quicker commute, and that's the most important thing. Uh, but the second reason is I very much jive with the playground's kind of model and theatrical MO. Like, no shade to the bug house. We would still be there if we hadn't made the connection with the playground people. And I would happily take it back there if we needed a new home. But the playground, they're a very cool company built on, you know, art first and business second. And maybe that's bad for the bottom line, but it's something that I jive with real hard. So we've been very happy to be partners with them this year, and we're booked out through the rest of the year. So real excited to be doing it.
Oh hell yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful news, and
Yeah.
it's free.
Yes, all of our shows are free for people to come and see. That's a big part of being at the playground. All of their shows are free, from the clown shows they have on Mondays to the variety shows and the sketch comedy and everything else. That they are 100% donation based as well. So we do a big call to action at every show to just remind people, hey, if you like what you saw here today and you're in a position to give, this is the time and place to do it. You would have a direct impact on the dozens of incredible theater artists who grace this stage very frequently.
Yeah, and that is up. That's on the second floor of my buddies, right?
Yes, it's right at Clark and Montrose. Yes, second floor, my buddies. Used to be called Clash on Clark, but now it's the playground, which used to when I first moved here, they were down out of space, like right by the annoyance. It was oh, I don't remember what the cross streets were. It was like Belmont and something right by the annoyance.
Yeah,
And then COVID happened, and everyone had to give up their keys because no one could pay rent or whatever. I don't quite know.
right.
But the folks who run the playground now, they brought it back. I believe it was around this time last year is when they got into space, and they've done a tremendous job renovating it. I mean, it's a really great black box theater. It's got a
Yeah,
backstage area, which not every black box theater does. You
yeah,
know, seating for probably easily fit 35, 40 people in there. They got a lighting and a sound set up, and actually one of the things that my team have been collaborating with their team on is trying to set up like a live stream sort of situation. Like how could we be live streaming shows and producing stuff, videos more easily there. So it's a great space, and I encourage. I mean, I would love if you'd come out and check out Beautiful Night in Our Neighborhood. But I've been there to see plenty of other stuff they're doing there, sketch shows, and I'm going to see a play in a couple weeks there that a friend of mine is producing. So it's a beautiful spot. And something else that's really interesting is I feel like people associate the theater with like party and alcohol and stuff, but they are very specifically. I mean, A, they don't have a liquor license, but B, they're like, well, let's just pitch it as a like it's not BYOB. This place is come, enjoy the theater, be in commune with other people.
yeah.
And we have water. They got a little filter. They got a cooler of water, and there's all the water you can want. But I think it's very and you can go downstairs to the bar after the show, so it's not that big a loss if you're into
Right.
that.
It's like kind of pushing like the runner's high versus the
Yeah, yeah. And I will say
yeah,
at my show, we have always had a thing where we serve tea to our guests, and that has been blessed because it is just leaf water.
yeah.
So that's very exciting for us because I really wanted the show to feel cozy and stuff. I realize I've talked about the show, but I haven't really said what we do, huh?
Yeah, well, I to be fair, I didn't help you there. We did kind of we started moving into thing.
There's
I
just
want
so
to
many
talk about
good things to talk about.
no, I know, but I do want to talk a little bit about you and how you got here
All right,
because
let's do that first.
you're very like multifaceted and just I met you in a very interesting acting
Hmm.
collaboration that we did way back in 2019 in ancient history. It feels like,
Truly,
but
yeah.
you're
My first
also a
gig in the city. I don't know about you. I don't know how long you'd been in Chicago, but that was that like February 2019 or March 2019 where we started. That was my first gig I booked.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it, I guess, that because you again, you're multifaceted. You're a director, you are a producer, you do the improv, you wear so many hats,
Mm.
and you were doing that before you even came to the city. So like tell me and us a little bit about like just your kind of apocryphal stage pre-Chicago, and then what was
Mm.
it that kind of brought you in?
Well, I can give you some formative moments. I'll give you like the moments that are in my biopic. How does that
Yeah.
sound? That when they eventually do it, and I don't know who's gonna play me in the biopic. I used to joke Michael Cera, but he's older than me, so he can't play younger me. Yeah, I don't know. Um, no, so I would say, my first interaction with like theater and performance was, I mean, play as a kid, right? Like I would like go to my friend's house, watch Digimon on a Saturday, and then we would go outside in the woods and play Digimon all day, right? So like, I very much was invested in like the spirit of play, and my cousins and I used to write little sketches and do shows, and this is like, early 2000s. So like the first friend who gets a Macintosh and all of a sudden we have access to iMovie. And so it's like, well, let's make a movie and get a
Yeah.
camcorder and all that stuff. So that was very much like a big part of my childhood. The first formal play I did, fifth grade. And I remembered it was a rough year for me. I was put into this fifth grade class, and most of those kids had already been together. They'd been together pretty much everyone had been in the same class for 5 years, different teachers, but like they were following. And for some reason, I got put in this class. I don't know how they decided that back then, but I was definitely othered. It was a very uncomfortable year for me. It was very confusing and hormones and everything. And I just was like, why doesn't anyone want to be my friend? Why am I, not feeling it? This class, however, was the was the class that like would do a school play every year. And my teacher, I remember so vividly, she had our auditions, and one by one we would walk back to the cubby room and read a little bit from the script. And she cast me, and everyone got a part, but I was Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and not to like whatever, who cares? Listen, I just directed 55 Kids and SpongeBob, so I had to tell them all about how leads don't matter. But you know, it was what really mattered to me that when I reflect on it now is that it felt nice to be seen and to be valued, right? Where I had spent a year really struggling to feel that way. Um, you fast forward, to maybe my high school career. Um, I it was my first lead in a high school play, the 20th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. For those who are familiar, it's a tremendously funny, silly musical.
So good.
And we bowed on opening night, and I so vividly remember like coming up from the bow, and I just saw 100 whatever people in front of me, and I just had this moment of clarity of we did this to them. Like we, whatever these people were coming in with today, whether they, had a tough day at work or struggling carrying some heavy weight of the world and life, we gave them a little respite for 2 hours. And that's really powerful. And that's something that I've carried with me for a long, long time. That I'm a pretty firm believer that our work in performance or theater or movies or whatever entertainment, you know, I think it's incredible the storytelling and the humanity that we can build and create when people are, you know, being an audience, being privy to to a human story happening in front of them. Um, so that those were definitely very significant moments for me, and I would say kind of the last one and the one that really sent me here to Chicago eventually when I had my choice of major cities to move to was I used to come home after school and go to my friend's house, and one day he turned on this thing called the Colbert Report, and I was like, "What's this?"
Whoa.
And blew my mind. Like really, my first introduction to satire, really my first introduction to um, what I now understand is like Chicago style comedy, but at the time I was just like, "What? This is hilarious! This is incredible! This guy is bold and brave and witty and stuff." And so, his work led me to understand more about the Chicago improv scene. I also grew up watching Who's Line, right? So like,
Oh my
I
God.
definitely had a taste for it and a hunger and a yearning for it. And so I kind of always knew that I wanted to come here and study improv. I also had some incredible theater artists who I worked with in my like young adulthood who had lived here for 10, 15 years, had done it, had produced shows at IO and been on main stage and Torco and all this. And they just really kind of introduced it to me, but ultimately said, Alec, you're only going to learn at the source. And so when it was time for Bethany and I to move, and it was New York, LA, or Chicago, I was like, let's do Chicago. And she was like, okay. So that's how I got here.
Yeah, and so then we had our experience
Yeah.
at the one place, and then you ended up. Were you just starting classes at IO around that point, or
Yeah.
was that
So I
kind of?
came, and then right around when we met, I mean, I took classes as soon as I could. That first full year, I did all the classes at IO, including what we thought at the time were the last classes in 2020 when they like closed for COVID, but they were like, we'll hold them over Zoom. And then we had like our level 5 Zoom performance there.
Yeah.
So I've done all of IO, all of Annoyance, and didn't want to keep spending money on classes, so I have not been back ever since. Not that there's nothing to be learned, but there's only so many hours in the day, so I got plenty of other projects I'm cooking on.
Right. Well, and it's great to be in the classroom, and it's a very safe, wonderful place to continue to
Oh,
like
I
chip
love it.
away. But like, there's sometimes at some point you got to kind of leave the nest and like play around,
Oh,
get out there and play in different.
yes. And I mean, it all has its pros and cons. I think what I love the most is like, this doesn't always happen with every class or every whatever group, but like when I'm in a there were several classes I took throughout where it was like me and 19 other people who were all on the same page. Sometimes
Yeah.
you go to a class and not everyone wants to give the same effort. Not everyone is in it for the same reasons, right? And that's okay. That's valid. Whatever. People can go take improv because they want to. make friends. People can go take improv because they want to be more comfortable talking with someone, a stranger, or if they do sales and they want to get more comfortable speaking on their feet. Whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And
Yeah.
I don't have animosity towards being in a class with them.
Yeah.
But there were a couple special times where I was in class and there was like 19 fucking weirdos, right? 19 just like people who are like willing to just like pretend that they're holding a chicken egg and then the chicken got birthed and then it fluttered away and then it flew into my mouth. Like just people who wanted to be that level of zany and weird and actually like super practice the stuff.
Yeah.
Um, those are always the moments that like stick the most in my head.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah,
So you're out there, you're doing the improv thing, you're kind of playing around. I know you're out there auditioning and
yeah.
stuff, and I know you're also concocting some directorial things,
Yes.
some passion
Yes. Well,
projects.
let's not quick detour to when I was your fight choreographer and line designer for a show that you directed. So,
Yeah,
I try to dabble.
you did, and we appreciated it so much.
I
That
will say too, just like on the topic of dabbling and like an appreciation for all of theater. Like I believe theater is the best art form. Theater and film TV, I'll give it to them too. But like theater especially because that's more most of my experiences is because it is all of the art forms, right? It is music, it is dance, it is performance, it is light, it is visual, it is sound, it is smells, it is, carpentry, it is textiles, it is like every single piece of it is so important and essential to it, right?
yeah,
And um, so for me, I was always excited by all of it, and I was really happy. I had a really weird kind of trajectory in college where I didn't get into my first choice schools, and they were all like pick your schools du jour, NYU and University of Michigan and Emerson and all this, and I either got waitlisted or denied from all of them, and I wound up going to like a lesser known liberal arts college, and at the time I felt like a failure. I felt
yeah,
like, oh, well, if I wasn't good enough to get into a conservatory, how could I ever do this? And what I learned when I got there was like because it was a smaller department, because I wasn't focused exclusively on acting, although that was the primary of my studies, I was forced, I was thrown on a project as a lighting designer and I was told to learn it, right? And take a
yeah,
class in it. And I think all of that has made me a better director
yeah,
because though I might not know the complete intricacies of the newest light board and how to program 7 universes for an LED bulb, whatever, I
yeah,
do feel like I have enough that when I hire a light designer, I can like communicate with them in a way that isn't just that isn't unreasonable. That isn't like make this happen, and then the lighting designer is going off to have a smoke and be like, "Can you believe this fucking director has no idea how lights work?" Right?
yeah,
So I've always loved kind of diversifying my skill set. I will say though, I think the way you introduced me is right. I primarily ply my trade as an actor and director and fight choreographer. Although even that I feel less confident in these days. It's just been so long since I like really got to do it. So
yeah. It's
I can do a
definitely
punch or a slap right now pretty well. That's about it.
some shows. That's all you need, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it very much is like as you were talking, it's like it very much a village kind of
Mm.
raising this
Mm-hmm.
show baby. And like
Yes.
you've just kind of described yourself as a village in and of yourself. So what was it in all of that that started kind of getting the wheels turning on wanting to put up a show like a very kind of periodical like serialized type show?
Well, I think a little bit of it is I've always kind of had host energy.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, my mom always loved to and still does tell me that I would make a great cruise director. Um,
I see that. I see that.
and I don't think she's wrong. Or like, game show host or whatever, or any of that. So why did I start Beautiful Night? So, as I said earlier, it's a late night variety talk show. It's highly focused on Chicago and it's highly focused on being together in community. Um, my idea for the show really started cooking. I had produced, self-directed some stuff, self-produced some sketch comedy just to do it and get it on speed. And I had people I really wanted to work with, and I was like, I'll pay the deposit. Let's just make it happen. Let's get a date on the books, and that was fine. But really, in reaction to the 2024 election, I Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear my neighbor vacuuming upstairs.
It's okay. I've got noise to go on too.
Great, great, great. So 2024 happens, and spoiler alert for those of you who aren't tuned in, but Donald Trump was reelected. And so um, that was not fun for me. You know, I felt like shocked and appalled that there's enough people in this country who are not turned off by the message of hate and division that is sown by him and the people who stand by him.
Mhm.
Now, I recognize there's a lot that goes into it. The American education system is bunk. The electoral college is rigged. The right, it's like the list goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Um, but I just was left finding myself doom scrolling, finding myself like trying to get the answers on the internet. And I've also been struggling with the fact that these tech bros in Silicon Valley have engineered all these algorithms and these news sites and whatever to just steal our attention. And so it's this paradox of like, I see these horrible things happening in the world. I'm just inundated with the truth about them happening, but none of this stuff is leading to me to like an answer. It's just making me feel apathetic and making me feel disconnected and make me feel like I don't have a voice in this world.
Mhm.
Um, and so I thought, well, what would give me purpose? What would give me a voice? Well, yes, we get to vote every 4 years on big things that happen in national elections, and yes, we can post and call our senators and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in our own backyards, in our own communities, that are way more tangible, way more actionable than me rolling my eyes at some Senate hearing that's happening in DC, which is
Mhm.
important to know about. But I really wanted to create a space that would celebrate the glorious stuff around us that was happening, you know? I um I also, you know, having been here 7 years, I have the privilege of knowing so many tremendous artists of all stripes, right? You as a theater
Mhm.
artist, I've got improviser friends, I've got, you know, folks who are more spatial artists, like friends who do like collages or textiles and all that. And but people don't think about them, right? We think about like the famous people, we think about like what's going on Broadway, but like let me tell you, I've seen some shows on Broadway that were a snooze fest, and let me tell you, I've seen some shows that were free in a black box that were a cold reading in Chicago that were better than most things I've seen there, right? And so I
Yeah.
wanted to create a place where a show that reminded people that there's so much shared humanity in our community that's directly around us, and that if you're feeling lost and hopeless about the world, remind yourself of where you can make a much bigger impact. Um, so that's why I started the show, A Beautiful Night in Our Neighborhood. Obviously, its namesake sounds a lot like Mr. Rogers' theme song, and it very much is. You know, I am very much like a scholar of his, a disciple of his, right? You know, find the helpers and how do you make sense of this big scary world? So that really was kind of the sense of the first first performance. I like had a cardigan, I wore my slippers, I said play smooth jazz music,
Yeah.
and I had some of my best friends on as my first few runs of panelists. You included because you were in the second show.
Yeah.
I stacked it with people I already knew would like crush it if I was going to have an interview talk show.
Uh-huh.
And so we started. Uh, I was like monthly talk show, variety show, and one of the things that one of the other big inspirations for me is I really love English panel shows. Specifically, I love the way Graham Norton does his late night shows versus the U.S. ones. Not
He's
obviously,
good.
I love Colbert. I said that, and I love so many people. But Graham brings everyone out on the couch and they all shoot the shit together on the couch, right? It's not like one guest, two guests, three guests. So
Yeah.
I very much wanted that. I wanted to create a space of like me and three friends are hanging out in the living room, maybe having a couple drinks, and the people in the audience are there watching it, having a good time. You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I want to create.
Yeah.
So I started with my partner, Alan, who is a tremendous writer in the city. He writes films and TV. We met doing films, TV, and plays. We met doing improv together 2019. Um, and I love collaborating with him because he's so darn good. And I'm honored that he wants to spend time with me.
No.
So I told him like, hey, I want to do this thing. We're probably gonna have like some sketch or some monologue jokes. Would you want to write for it? And he was like, sure. So we started on that, and then after a couple shows, one of my friends who was a panelist, Kate, she was like, I love what you're doing here. Can I help you make it happen? And I was like, sure. And in my head, I'm like, I don't have any money. I don't know why people want to show up. But she is like invested in the mission, and she's co-producer, and I mean, without her, the show wouldn't be nearly as tremendous as it is. For the rest of the year, we slowly started adding in writers so to supplement Alan, um, both to like give him a little more space to breathe, but also to get more perspectives in there.
Yeah.
Um, I very much am inspired by how Seth Meyers will frequently promote his writers on his show, and that's important to me too. You know,
Yeah.
I tell them, I said, this isn't the Alex show. Yes, I'm going to host and facilitate and MC, but like if you have a sketch and you want to be in it or you want to cast it a certain way, it's yours. And I've
Yeah.
loved doing that. And then I would say the final piece of the puzzle, this team that we put together, is we got a videographer who I connected with about a year ago at this time through another mutual friend who was just like trying to have a little salon of like-minded artists and hanging out.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to him because I just wanted to borrow a camera. I said, I'll rent it from you. And he said, what if I was just your videographer? And I was like, what? What? That's very generous.
Yeah.
And his name's Patrick, and he is an utter delight. And similar to how I was saying, like, it's helpful to know all parts of the art. He isn't just a videographer. He's a tremendous videographer and he edits stuff so quick. It's amazing. But he's also a musician. He has a knack for writing. He has an eye for it all. So what I love about this team is that everyone definitely has their lane or their focus or whatever, but if I need someone else on the soundboard, they can do it. If I need, if we need someone else to like make a judgment call on how we're working on our set, they can help, right? I have this amazing, amazing team, and I'm working so hard to get sponsors for the show so I can pay them
Yeah.
in more than a drink after the show, because I think they are worth it. But I love that they are a part of this, and they have elevated they believe in my vision, and they've elevated it in so many ways. So I'm very thankful for all of them.
Yeah. It is really like I think it's just a testament to your ability to like tap people and bring people in and kind of create this again village
Yeah.
to birth this baby. What can folks kind of expect when they come in to the average or not so average beautiful night? Like what's that experience like, and how have you kind of noticed the trajectory of it for yourself kind of over the past year and a half?
Yeah. Well, so trajectory, definitely at the start, like I said, I was like letting in the Mr. Rogers thing. And that's not, I think that's still at the core. I think it's like at the heart of it, still the like message of like joy and unity and compassion and peace. Um, but I think I've gotten a little more chill about it. I think I, uh, how would I describe it? I don't know. I'm just trying to, I want it to be fun as well, right? Not just like a downer, also not a downer, but like a relaxing thing. Because sometimes our shows are like at 10 p.m. Like people
Uh-huh.
are already sleepy. I do got to pump them up a little bit and be like, thank you for coming out to see live theater instead of scrolling on TikTok.
Yeah.
Um, but we like to greet everyone and let them know that it's like you might be a part of the show and like you are part of the show because you're the audience. And that to us is like it's a very not fourth wall show. Like I'm often calling out to people in the audience or reacting to their laughs or whatever. And but when they come in, usually they get offered a cup of tea, right? Like I said, we got some hot tea brewing, and then I usually mill about in the audience at the top, trying to get to know some people I haven't known. I also tell them that I'm gonna ask the audience a question. I ask every guest on my show, "What's the most beautiful thing that's happened in your neighborhood recently?" And so I find someone in the audience and they talk about it, and that's always nice. When the show drops, we have a pretty fun format. The first third of the show is kind of our scripted content. So we'll have some sketches. I'll read kind of news of the week, monologue jokes, and as I've instructed my writers, like we don't touch the national news unless it affects Chicago. But our news is very Chicago centric. So like yes, we did talk a lot about ICE because there was plenty of comedy that needed to be derived from this horrible
Yeah.
occupying force in our city.
Yeah.
But I am very much like we're not doing Trump, we're not doing national politics, we're not doing this not because it shouldn't be done, but one, there's already 5 late night talk shows that are doing it. I don't know if we're going to do any better. And second, because there's enough content here. Like I love like Block Club Chicago teaches me enough about what's happening in the city that I can like make some gags about, you know.
Truly.
Um, so that's kind of the first chunk, some sketches, some jokes. And then I like to have a guest on, music or comedy generally, to kind of do an act of sorts. Give them, 10-ish minutes, couple songs, or a small little set. Last show we had two of my favorite improvisers, two of my former teachers, who did an incredible two-prov set. They crushed as I knew they would. Um, and then I bring the guests back out, not just those who perform, but sometimes I'll have other people from the community up. So oftentimes people in like the theater community, but 2 shows ago, this was right before the No Kings rally, the most recent one in March.
Yeah.
We got connected with this woman who was part of a kind of community chorus, basically a resistance singing group.
Cool.
And we thought, well, let's get her on the show. And so I'll have all my panelists come up. Sidebar, I've been trying to get like CTA workers or like UPS workers, USPS workers, or like people in our community, public school teachers, like people in our community who are like making things happen, who I think are unsung heroes.
You got
But
to
so
get the
that's
guy. You got to get the one red line train guy.
that one red line train guy who's always at telling you have a great day. Or like a stop sign crossing guard.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of our panel. And then I usually plan a game that we play together. Whether it's some kind of like funny blind ranking or, we at a show recently we played F, Mary Kill Lollapalooza lineups. So I like listed Lollapalooza lineups from this year because it had just come out, but then like the year I graduated high school, the year I was born or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just, we sit around and we play a game together. Uh,
I live in a building that has a rehearsal space, and a company that I'm a part of, a short lead theater company, is doing auditions. So if we're in like some weird re-entry point right now, we're trying to bring it back because we had people come in to use the restroom. Um, but we were talking about something, Alec.
I think I was at the end of describing my show.
Yes,
So we've done
yes,
the sketches, we've done the guest act, we've had my guests on to play a game, and
yes,
then I end by asking the question I ask all my guests, which is what's the most beautiful thing that's happened to you in your neighborhood recently?
yeah,
And it can be, I don't care how big or small it is, it does not have to be grand or epic. You don't have to have seen someone get engaged under the fireworks at Navy Pier, although you could, that could be pretty nice.
oh yeah,
My stuff is frequently CTA centric. We were talking about the 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 train drivers, but for me, like, I love shouting out a bus driver who just crushes it, who just like is no nonsense, gets the job done, or like even stops for me when I need them to, whatever.
yeah,
But for me, I that's very much the the theme of the show because I want people to at least take a minute to be grounded in like what was great that I saw today. What did I see a beautiful tulip budding? Did I eat an incredible banh mi in Little Vietnam? Like
yeah.
it's that for me is what the whole thing is about. And we get some sweet ones and we get some serious ones and we get some hilarious ones and it's just a great place to end the show every month. So I'm very happy that that's kind of how we close.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You kind of talked a little bit about some highlights and stuff, which is perfect like segue into my next question. But as you were talking, one of the things that I definitely remember from being an audience member at one of your earlier, it might have been the third or fourth of your Bughouse shows,
Hmm.
was the stand-up baby escapade.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
don't
was
know
just
what you
texting
call that
David.
in your thing, but
Yeah. So for those who weren't there, which, oh, you missed it. Yeah, I
gold.
had a dear friend of mine, David, as a stand-up. He came and he crushed, and I knew he would, but he crushed from the top. One of my friends had just had a kid. I think she was 4 months old at the time. She's like, "Can I bring the baby?" And I was like, "Sure, you can bring the baby. I don't care." And she's like, "What if it squeals?" And I was like, "It's a baby. If people are mad, I'll kick them out. I'm pro mama here. Okay,
Yeah.
moms get to go out." Um, but anyway, so David started his set, and the kid had some kind of reaction at kind of the right moment to
Yeah.
like, I think he said something controversial about Katy Perry, who had recently gone up in a spaceship, and
Yeah.
the kid had like a squeal, and he was like, "Yeah, I know, right?" And he just like played with the kid. It was so
Hmm.
cool. I loved it.
It kept
Um,
popping up too. Like he didn't quit the bit. He kept it
yeah,
going.
he didn't miss it. It was great. No, I love David. He's a good egg. He housed me when I was between places when Bethany and I needed a couple days between a couple rentals we had.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people who I took improv with, and he was willing to be weird.
Oh
He's so
yeah.
great. Um, yeah, so it's funny. I was just texting him earlier today.
Wow. Any other
Yeah.
ones like that? Because I also have like a memory of what is it? The was it the bird poop?
Goose shit day.
Yeah, Goose Shit Day.
That was
Musical
a sketch
number.
and a song written by Alan and me, Alcon and Kate all performed it. Um, Hip hip hooray, it's Goo Shit Day. Yeah. It's it was a parody of a fake Chicago holiday, which is every year when we celebrate the geese who are migrating and the poop that they leave behind. So,
Yeah.
we can be serious and make jokes at ice, and we can also be serious and make jokes about goose poop. Um, there have been so many highlights throughout, but I think the thing that means the most to me is I've had some people after the show who come up and talk to me, and I know it spoke to them the way I want it to speak to them. I've had people come up and say, that felt so sincere, that felt so heartfelt. Thank you for reminding me to celebrate, practice gratitude and celebrate what I do have. And
Yeah.
it means a lot because I think I've been in that place where it just feels overwhelming and scary in this world at times. Um, And it's not to be like, put it away and never think about it. Like, we do need to face the horrors of the world, but we can't only face the horrors of the world, right? And so to hear someone be like, yeah, the honesty of I often have this closing monologue where I say, like, thank you all for coming out here and getting out of your algorithmic drips of, anger that gets dosed out to us, right? Thank you
Yeah.
all for coming and spending some time in community and supporting live artists and incredible artists. I mean, I would not be surprised if a lot of people that I bring on the show are quote unquote famous in some way, right? And I think it'd be very cool if people who've been to the show get to say 10 years from now when David's blowing up the the comic circuit or whatever, that they could be like, wow, that was David. Or when they're like, oh my gosh, artistic director Dakota Pariset, I
Uh-huh.
saw him on stage at Beautiful Night.
Very kind.
Yeah, I had to.
I mean, I think there's that very interesting kind of parallel to like Johnny Carson, right?
Hmm.
Like you get the
Now that's
thing,
very kind.
you get well, just to say. But like, yeah, everybody starts somewhere and we're all going somewhere, you know?
Yeah. I would say the last thing I've loved hearing about reactions to my show is actually from people not in Chicago because those of you who are watching, I try to do a lot of like on the street moments for like our social media promo. I was like, I need to get video on here because video is what people see, and I load social media, but we have to be there or else the show can't get as big a reach as we want.
Yeah.
So I'll often go to like community fairs, farmers markets, concerts, whatever your a record store day recently, and I'll
Yeah.
go on the street and just interview people and say, what's the most beautiful thing in your neighborhood recently? And so my non-Chicago people get to see that. My friends in New York, my friends back home in Maine, my parents' friends in Maine, who I haven't heard from in years, reach out to me and they say, keep it up. Like this brought a tear to my eye. This brought joy to me. This was hilarious. And it really makes me feel good to connect, well, to remember some connections that I have, right?
Yeah.
To be like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from you in a minute. Um, but also to know that, well, the internet can't all be bad. If I'm able to bring some joy to some people, I
Yeah.
guess that's the one good thing.
Yeah, well, it's just it is taking. I mean, it's not theater, but like there's this very like true theatrical thing that you're kind of doing where you're bringing it and you're bringing the audience
Hmm.
even external of the space in on the thing,
Hmm.
right? And then bringing that to a wider audience. So it's a very cool malleable
Yeah. And
way
I
that
will
you're.
say, every time I do an on the street thing, I'm like, leading up to it, I'm dreading it. I'm like, I
Yeah,
have anxiety. I'm exhausted. I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to people. Or it's like cold and rainy, and I'm like, and I'm a little exaggerating, but I'm also not. But whenever I go and do the thing, I am elated at the like it is so cool to meet people. It's so cool to be kind to people. It's so cool to like see what they're up to. And for some people, they treat it like this is their moment. They're like, you're talking, you want to know what I think about what I've been doing in my life? I would love to. So it's really good that I have this show where I get to bring people in and they get to connect. It's really great that part of my show is doing this promo thing where normally it would upset me because I hate trying to do stuff for social media, but I get something out of it because I get to go hang out with a bunch of cool strangers and like chit chat with them. It was really cool.
Yeah, and I'm super jealous too because like you're getting out in the city, and that's something that
Right.
I need to do more of myself. It's
Well,
great.
it teach their, we're all doing our things. Don't sell yourself short. You're at every theater thing that I've ever been to in my life. I'll be at theater things I don't expect you to be at, and there you are.
Well, in the spirit of games, as you've mentioned before,
Yes,
we
I
do
love
have one.
games.
We do have one that we love to play here in our whole series called we call them micro bites. It's basically just a rip off of a lightning round.
Heck yeah.
So I've got about 10 questions here. I'll just go ahead and drop them on you, and just whatever your impulse is.
Okay, okay.
So starting us off, as a host, uh, who would be a dream guest to have on your show?
I mean, it's Chicago, right? So it would have to be someone like Lori Lightfoot. That's what I want to get.
Oh, Lori. Oh,
Here's the
Lori.
thing about Lori. Politics aside, I couldn't even really name the policies that she primarily worked on.
Yeah.
The fact that she got caught on a hot mic saying that she has the biggest dick in Chicago, I think is the funniest thing that's ever happened. It's so good. It's so good. Um, all that aside, though, wow, wow. Oh, I wish I was going from the gut. Wait, going from the gut. Dream guest. I mean Colbert, right? Like I said, Colbert's my hero. So if I got to interview him, that'd be very cool. That'd be very
Oh,
cool.
yeah. What would be a show, a dream show for you to be a guest on?
Oh, dream show for me to be a guest on. Um, do you know the podcast Hello from the Magic Tavern?
No.
Okay. Improvised podcast starring Chicago people who are like quite famous in the like improv circles. It started, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago. It's no more than that 'cause it was before I moved to Chicago. Um, it's a improvised podcast about a normal guy from our universe who got sucked into a dimensional portal and he wound up in basically like a D&D high fantasy world.
Oh, man.
And he's at the Magic Tavern. Hello from the Magic Tavern, and he's interviewing these various mythical guests who come on. So he has two co-hosts, a wizard and a like a I don't know what you're called when you can transform your body, but this guy's primarily a badger, right?
Yeah.
But he can like transform himself into whatever beings. And then they'll have on improvisers, and they're like, "Oh, this is Quizzle McDickles, the stable owner," or it'd be like, "Oh, this is Grork, the berserker who's the team captain of the Quiffle ball team or something, right?" And that
Yeah.
improviser who's on gets to become this character or whatever. And I think it's like a perfect like I love improv, I love high fantasy. That'd be a cool one.
Worlds merging. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is one early Chicago theater experience?
Annie doesn't have to be good or bad or ugly.
It's open ended.
I'll tell you the first time I got to perform at the Goodman, the only time I got to perform at the Goodman. Um, this was my first year there. There was this company that I don't believe they're active here because the founders moved, I believe, to the West Coast, um, called Black Lives, Black Words, and they were having a short play festival. And the name's in the title. It's a company celebrating black artists and black artistry. And it wasn't open. It was a general call, and it said all races, ethnicities. And I was like, well, I'm here. I'm new. What have I got to lose? They said come, so I did, and I did wind up getting to be in a play, and I played the villain, which was very fitting, given that it was, so, it's unfortunately the history of our people,
Yeah.
um, but it was a great company to work with. I worked with some incredible artists, both like as in the like my I don't want to say co-stars, but like the people I performed with, but also the directors who I got to learn from, and it was a very, very cool experience for me to get to be at the Goodman, right? A gorgeous theater, and to be there with a very large audience, and haven't been back since. So Goodman, if you're listening, let's talk.
Continuing on Chicago themes, I'll give you the option: hot dog or pizza joint in the city, or
Hot.
hot dog or pizza. What's your go-to
Oh,
in the city?
um, I would more regularly have a hot dog. I quite like hot dogs,
Yeah.
so that's great. And moving to a hot dog town is great. And I honestly think the Chicago dog is pretty much the best way. I think
So
it. I don't know if I need the pickle and the hot peppers,
yeah.
but tomato onion. Like, listen, I'll get a drive through the garden dog. I'm not gonna pick it off, right?
Yeah.
Or specifically order it. But like I'm just saying, if I'm at home making hot dogs, the invention of putting the tomato in there, it's like that extra little splash of juice. Mm.
Innovation.
Um, I have had a lot of devil dogs just because it's right next to the annoyance and that's
Yeah.
convenient. But I'm a big fan of Byron's. They got a couple locations,
I
and
love Byron's right on
yeah,
Sheridan.
right. Yes, that's the one I usually go to. So I'll go Byron's. Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah. What we have an ongoing series currently with the L cycle. Coming up on the green line here. Do you have a favorite line and or stops on
Well, I'm a Red Line boy. I've always lived in Edgewater or Uptown. But since you mentioned Green, I'll go ahead and mention stops. I'm going to mention the Harlem stop, which is at the end or the beginning of the Green Line in Oak Park. Um, I just finished directing a show out there. I work with a company pretty regularly that does youth theater, and that's the stop I go to. I got to ride all the way down the loop, and then I got to transfer, and then I got to ride all the way to the Green Line. And I'm normally lamenting it, but then I get there and I work with a bunch of talented children, and I'm like, oh no, it's worth it. So
Yeah. And
I'll
I feel
pick
like
Harlem.
the views coming back into the city.
It is also a very cool view for sure. Yes, definitely. You're right. I should be thinking of that more.
So you are a Mainer, is that how you say it? I mean,
Maina, yes, sir.
what's one thing that you have to do whenever you go back?
That's so funny. This isn't feel Maine specific because it's like bagels aren't like a main thing. Like everyone's thinking lobsters, blueberries. But in my hometown, which is right next to Bangor, which for those the Stephen King's fans out there, that's where he's from. Derry is Bangor. Um, and so anyway, there's a little bagel shop downtown called Bagel Central, and yeah, I gotta go there every time I'm there. They make salt bagels. They're basically an excuse to eat a pretzel with cream cheese in the morning.
Oh
They're
my
so
God.
good. Yes.
Innovation, innovation.
Yeah, for sure.
What's one of your favorite spots in the city?
Hmm. My favorite spot. I mean, I do want to give a shout out to the understudy, and I feel like it's a little circle jerk with this. Probably your clientele of the audience who's watching this, but when I had traveled through Europe for a few months, and when I came back was right when the understudy had opened, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I survived in the city for several years without a beautiful drama bookshop that was curating this incredible list of plays. Like, it's not like when you go to Barnes and Nobles and the play section is just Shakespeare, right?
Yeah.
It was like stuff that's happening. It was, there are times I go there wanting a play that's off the beaten path, and they have it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and they curate some awesome performances and stuff. So it's a very great creative spot for me. I sing its praises.
Heck yeah. What is a springtime activity that you're excited to get back to?
Well, I just had a birthday and I got some money from my family, so I'm gonna buy a bike. And I haven't owned a bike in the city. During COVID, I used divvy bikes a lot because I didn't really want to be on public transit. And so I haven't really cycled kind of since then, since in the past few years, because the buses have been back and whatever, and I can just do that. But I really liked what it did for my cardio. I also really liked what it did for having to travel left and right, east and west.
Yeah.
So I'm getting myself a bike, and I'm real excited to start biking again.
We have to bike.
Yes, we should.
It's such a wonderful thing. You can go
Yeah,
anywhere,
yeah. Anytime, anything. Yeah,
any place.
yeah.
Oh gosh. And then to close us out,
All
I'm
right.
taking one out of your book. What's one beautiful thing that you've seen in your neighborhood?
speaking of springtime, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Blossom. There's a little section, kind of at one of the at, in my neighborhood, where cross street, and I like to call it the secret garden because in the summertime it's like all grown over. It's just a corner of it's like just where two streets meet. But for some reason, the way these trees have grown, it very much is like the secret garden where it's just like it's fully in you. When you walk under it, you're getting like the light filtering of the leaves. And it's like blooming up now. And there's like just a very good aroma as I approached it. I wasn't even in it yet, but I was like maybe 15 feet away, and the wind hit me with it, and I was like, oh, because sometimes you're walking in a city and the wind hits you with a whiff of like garbage, and that's not fun, right? So to get hit with a whiff of springtime and good, life is coming back. That was beautiful for me.
And that's beautiful. And it can cover up, yes, the like manhole sewage smell.
Yes, of course, yeah.
That's my beautiful thing. Um, Gosh. Well, that's all we got. I just really appreciate you taking some time and joining me on this little thing we're working on here. And thanks for sharing a little bit of your time, a little bit of yourself, and a little bit about a beautiful night in our neighborhood. Where can folks check? I don't want to get like a specific date because this will live forever
Of
somewhere, and
course.
the show will have passed. But we'll be sure to include dates on our Instagrams as well
Well,
as
thank you.
links and stuff in our descriptions. But where can folks see more of you individually, but also a beautiful night in our neighborhood? And what else
I
do you got?
recommend, yeah, I recommend folks who are on the Instagrams, you go to beautiful underscore neighborhood underscore show. That's us. You'll see my mug there and you'll know it's us. We also have a link tree which has links to not only that Instagram, but also um, where the actual tickets are, or in a form if you are interested in being a participant, if you want to ply your trade on our stage. All kinds of stuff. We try to keep those up to date. That's where I push people. So that one is Linktree/beautiful neighborhood. So go to those two places. And I'm Alexander Sayers. Find me on Instagram if you want, but I only download Instagram the week before the show so I can promote it, and then I delete it again because otherwise I will sit on the toilet all night long.
Done.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Well, this has been honestly a beautiful night to spend
Oh,
with a dear friend. So this has been great, and we look forward to having you back.
all right. Oh boy, I can't wait to see what you got cooking for me. I'll be back.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And thank you and everyone else who's checking this stuff out. Thanks for joining us here in the infinite space of small.